Okay, so this is the third class or third session. We are going to add these entities. Okay, so one is the employee DTO and second one is the employee entity. This is the front end request and response object. Request and response information it will take care, and employee entity it will take care of the database model. And employee repository, we are going to add employee repository which will be extended by the JPA repository, and employee controller we will add. And we are adding respective annotations on the above classes. So let me open the STS. So here previously we added a project structure. Now we are adding the employee in DTO first. Class DTO, employee DTO. Okay. So we are adding private ID. First name, string, last name. So these are the fields we are dealing for the employee transactions or employee behavior. Okay, first name, last name, and email. Email also string. Okay, the last one is the employee skills. Okay, so we can generate setters and getters for using this source, and generate getters and setters. Select all and generate here. So it is generating. You can see here. Okay, the same way I'm copying this. The same way I'm generating employee entity also. Create a new class called employee entity. Where we are adding all these fields. Okay, fields, and also it is a database model, right? You need to add entity, Control Shift O. It is a Jakarta persistence entity. Okay, and also add table. You can give the table name. As at the red table, right? So at the red table, Jakarta persistence table, correct. Yeah, name. It should come. Name as employee. Okay. We give an employee name as a table name, and it is an entity, right? It will be data will be transferred one layer to another layer, database layer. So it should be implements serializable. Okay, so it will generate some serial ID for uniqueness. So you can add ID here. This is the ID from the persistence ID, Jakarta persistence ID, and also add generated value. Generated value as a strategy as generation type as an identity. So here it will take care, our Spring data will take care to add or sequence of this. It will generate the ID for this column and it will insert it into the table. So we need to send the employee ID from the front end. Okay. So this is what here, and you can add at the rate column name So you can add name. So this column name is nothing but this is the column is nothing but the table column in the database. This is the model value. So whenever we are saving the data, right, this value will be saved into this column, this value in the database. So Hibernate internally it will map the first name value to the column of the first name value in the database table. So like that it will map dynamically. Okay, it will be the Spring Boot. It is coming by default. It is coming from the auto configurations. Okay, last name and also email. Add the email, and also add the skills. Okay, skills. They also generate the setters and getters for this. Control Shift. Yes, it will give the all the fields. Don't generate the setter for this ID. Fine. So we are creating employee entity as well as employee DTO. We created. So next, what we need to employee repository. Employee repository we need to get. We need to create employee repository. Okay. So employee repository I'm going to create here. Repo. Sorry, new. It is an interface. So employee repository. Okay. Employee repository will be extends JPA repository. So it will give the, here we need to give the entity and ID. So ID of the data type of the ID. So here we need to give employee entity. Employee entity, yes. It is the data type of the primary key of this entity. So maybe long. Okay, fine. Right here you can see long, that ID is the long type. So here we can create here, save, and come to repository. So we already giving the data type of the primary key of this entity as well as entity. Also you can add at the repository annotation of the Spring framework, so that dynamically it will take care of any kind of database errors. Dynamically it will give the proper error response to the dynamic request. So any kind of database errors, it will give the proper error response to the coming request dynamically. So okay, fine. So as part of our this class controller, we need to add. Let me add the controller, employee controller, the class employee controller. So this is the employee controller where we can define @rest controller is an annotation. Okay. Based on this annotation, Spring container will remember this is the controller of this application, so that here user might be defined some APIs here, so that I will treat as this component as a controller component of this application. So like that, Spring internal components are called Spring container. The container will register as a controller as a this class. For that purpose, we need to give the request as a @request controller, so that this class will be behave like a controller. Okay, so this is what we added here. Our next class will be, we need to add some more entities like service and service IMPL, so that we will connect in the next class. We will add this the service class and service IMPL.